Picture this. You are not in your comfortable home, lit by the blue glow of a screen, soft chair beneath you. You are in Sparta. Not the Sparta of movie slow-motion battles and heroic one-liners, the real Sparta. The air is hot, heavy with a mingled sense of olive oil, bronze, and sweat baked into stone walls. Somewhere, a goat bleats. Nearby, men's voices rise in rhythmic chant from the mess hall, the deep baritone sound of warriors eating in unison. It is your wedding night. But there will be no flowers, no feast in your honor, no slow dance beneath candlelight. You will not spend tonight wrapped in your partner's arms in some private chamber. Because here, in the most feared city-state of ancient Greece, marriage is not about love. It is not about choice. It is about the state. Your body, your future children, are not your own. They belong to Sparta. The heat presses against you, thick as a cloak. You are in a small, dim room that isn't even your home. In fact, your husband doesn't live here. By law, he will remain in the barracks with the other soldiers until he is 30. But the city has decreed that tonight, you must begin your duty. The shadows flicker from a single oil lamp. You hear footsteps outside, slow and deliberate, the sound of someone approaching with purpose. You've been prepared for this moment since childhood. Not prepared with romance or stories of tenderness, but drilled in the understanding that your wedding night is not yours. It is Sparta's. Your hair, once long and braided, has been cut short, shaved close in parts, your head now covered by a man's cloak. You are dressed not as a bride, but as a boy. This is no mistake, no prank. It is tradition. A ritual disguise meant to make this first encounter strange, jarring, unforgettable. The door opens. He enters quietly, almost furtively, because he is not supposed to be here. He will slip away before dawn, returning to his mess hall as if nothing happened. You will see him only in snatched moments, in shadows, until the state allows you to live together years from now. But the marriage will already have been consummated, because the law requires it. This is not intimacy as you know it. This is a performance with a very specific purpose: to create children the state deems strong enough to fight and breed in turn. Your personal feelings, fear, excitement, even revulsion, are irrelevant. The city's laws are clear. Marriage is not a choice you make, it is an assignment you are given. Love, if it ever comes, is an afterthought. And yet, this is only the beginning. Tonight, you will follow the ancient custom of ritual abduction, a ceremony that pretends to give the thrill of a stolen bride while ensuring every step is state-approved. You will learn that some husbands are encouraged, even expected, to share their wives with younger, stronger men, if it means healthier offspring. You will see that the state can approve affairs, arrange breeding, and take infants it judges unfit to live. In the months to come, you will be watched, measured, inspected, not just by your family, but by the city itself. You will be told what to eat, how to move, how to train your body to be the perfect vessel for Sparta's next generation. And if you fail, if you do not conceive, or produce a child judged weak, the law has no sentiment for you. This is not a love story. This is a contract between your body and the most ruthless military society in the ancient world. And the rules of that contract are enforced with the same cold efficiency that keeps Spartan spears sharp and Spartan shields locked tight. What you are about to hear is stranger, harsher, and more controlled than anything you've ever imagined. Welcome to the Spartan bedroom. You wouldn't survive it. In Sparta, the moment you are born, you are not just a person. You are property. Not of your parents, of the state. This truth is carved into every part of your life, and nowhere is it more visible than in the laws that govern your body. The reforms of the lawgiver Lycurgus, whether he was a real man or a mythic founder, are said to have shaped a society where nothing, not even love, could interfere with the needs of the state. For men, this began at the age of 7. You are taken from your family and placed into the agoge, the state-run training system. Here you will live, eat, sleep, and train with your age mates. It is not just military preparation, it is a lifelong reshaping of your body and mind into a weapon. By the time you reach the age of 30, you will have known your fellow soldiers more intimately than your own wife. The law forbids you from living at home until then, even if you are married. Your loyalty must remain with your unit. For women, the state's claim is just as absolute. From childhood, you are drilled in physical training. Running, wrestling, javelin throwing. This is not for sport. Plutarch tells us Spartan women trained so that, in his words, they would bear children of good size and strength. The law demands you be as fit as the men, not to fight in the phalanx, but to ensure your womb produces warriors. Marriage in Sparta is not an act of the heart. It is an arrangement of the state's design. The city wants pairings that will yield the strongest children. If two people are deemed mismatched in age, health, or potential, they can be shamed, fined, or publicly ridiculed. Marrying too late brings financial penalties. Marrying too young is mocked as reckless. Aristotle sneered at these customs, but to the Spartans, this was practical governance. The family is not a private affair, it is a breeding program. The pairing of couples is no random accident. The elders and your own family, both trained in the harsh arithmetic of survival, select a spouse based on reputation, lineage, and physical condition. Xenophon writes admiringly of this, noting that Lycurgus deprived men of the right to raise children as they pleased, instead ensuring unions were arranged for the benefit of the city. You may think of your wedding as a personal milestone. Sparta thinks of it as another entry in its military ledger. And it does not end at the altar. If a man is old and wealthy but physically weak, the law allows, even encourages, him to invite a younger, fitter man to father children with his wife. The arrangement is not scandalous. It is civic duty. Likewise, a woman who is strong and proven fertile may be asked to bear children for more than one man. In Sparta, jealousy is weakness, and the only true sin is producing children who fail the city's standard. This is not love. This is eugenics. It is the deliberate shaping of a population by law. Every coupling is judged by one metric alone. Will the offspring be fit enough to hold a shield in the phalanx and breed another generation? Plutarch recounts stories of Spartan women mocking unmarried men in public, calling them cowards in love, who shrink from their duty. In the marketplace, an unmarried man might be forced to walk in circles while women sang insults at him. For a city with a constant shortage of citizens, hemmed in by rivals, always fearing rebellion from the enslaved helot population, every birth mattered. Every womb was a resource. This is the power of the Lycurgan system. It rewrote intimacy as law. What other Greeks called private, Sparta called public duty. What others treated as a choice, Sparta treated as an obligation. And if you failed in that obligation, by marrying late, producing weak children, or resisting the state's design, you paid for it in fines, humiliation, and in some cases, exile from the ranks of full citizens. And all of this, the training, the pairing, the inspections, is only the framework. The true story is in how these laws seep into your every thought. You do not wonder if you will marry for love. You wonder if the state will judge your body, or your partners, as good enough. You live with the knowledge that even in your most private moments, the city's shadow is there, measuring, deciding. If the history scar just showed you that even your love life wouldn't be your own here, ask yourself, why wouldn't you want more history they don't teach? Like, share, and subscribe right now. Or at least tell us in the comments why you'd rather stay in the dark. Your wedding in Sparta does not begin with music or vows. It begins with a theft. Not the theft of love or time, those were taken from you long ago by the state, but the theft of you. Tonight, the man who will be your husband will abduct you, just as the law prescribes. It is a tradition so old that no one remembers when it began, but it is carried out with the precision of a military drill. First, you are transformed. The long hair that has followed you from girlhood, a symbol of beauty in much of Greece, is cut short, shorn close to your scalp. In some accounts, it is shaved away entirely. Plutarch writes of this without ceremony, as though removing your hair is simply removing an unnecessary decoration. Your head feels strange, light, bare, as if a part of your identity has been stripped away. You are dressed not in the robes of a bride but in the cloak and sandals of a man. The wool itches against your skin, the fabric heavy with the smell of the barracks. The message is clear. Tonight, you are not to appear as a delicate object of desire. You are to be a comrade, a figure hardened and simplified, a body ready for function. Then comes the abduction. Your groom does not arrive with a parade. He does not stand before witnesses to declare his intent. He comes quietly, slipping away from his military mess hall, breaking the rigid schedule of the Syssitia for one purpose. The law expects him to steal you from the place where you are kept, often from the house of another man who acts as your guardian for the night. It is an act staged for symbolism, the thrill of taking a bride, the rush of conquest, the echo of war. He carries you away in the dark, and there is no crowd to cheer, no feast waiting. The abduction ends in a small, hidden room. It is not your marital home. You will not have one together until he is 30. This place is for one function only, the first coupling. There is privacy, but only the kind that can be guaranteed by shadows. In truth, this secrecy is formalized, not emotional. Everyone knows where you are, what is happening. The act is not born of passion or spontaneity, but of the state's schedule. This night is required. It is the first step in producing a Spartan child, one whose body will belong to the city before it draws its first breath. When the night is over, he will leave as quietly as he came. He will slip back into the barracks, rejoining his comrades as though nothing happened. You will remain where you are, waiting for the next time he is granted leave to see you. The law will keep you apart in the early years, allowing only these secret, state-approved meetings. The purpose is not romance. It is strategy. The city believes that keeping you separated will heighten desire, making your eventual couplings more urgent, more likely to produce children. It will keep him focused on his military duties, not distracted by the comfort of a wife's presence. In Sparta, even yearning is engineered. To refuse this tradition is unthinkable. It is the kind of defiance that would stain a man's reputation and mark a woman as uncooperative, a dangerous label in a society where the state controls your fate. Those who mock the ritual are mocked in return, shamed in public for breaking with the ways of Lycurgus. In extreme cases, elders or magistrates can enforce the pairing, reminding everyone that marriage is not a personal choice but a public service. You do not speak of love here. You speak of lineage, of the child you must bear, of the laws you must uphold. You tell yourself the separation is noble, that it serves a higher cause. You imagine that perhaps one day, when the laws allow you to share a roof, you will find something more than duty between you. But tonight, you are just another citizen fulfilling your part in a system that has claimed your body since birth. In most of Greece, what happens after a child is born belongs to the family. In Sparta, it belongs to the city. You give birth, and for a brief moment you think the hardest part is over. But almost before you can hold the infant, the process begins. The laws of Lycurgus require that every newborn be brought before the elders, men of the Gerousia, the council, for inspection. This is not a warm welcome to the community. It is a trial. The baby is stripped bare in the morning light. The elders study the tiny body for signs of strength, symmetry, health. They turn it, weigh it in their hands, press fingers to joints. Any visible imperfection, a twisted limb, a cleft lip, a sickly cry, is noted. If the child passes, it is returned to you, now marked for a life of state training. But if the elders judge it unfit, it is carried away. The destination is a chasm on the slopes of Mount Taygetus called the Apothetai, the place of rejection. There, the unwanted are left to die of exposure or to be taken by wild animals. It is said to be merciful, a quick end for a weak body. You are not allowed to protest. The city does not care for a mother's tears. It cares for the strength of its army. This is the same cold arithmetic that governs not only the fate of children, but the intimacy of adults. In Sparta, producing strong heirs is not simply encouraged, it is enforced. If your husband is wealthy and respected but past his physical prime, the law allows him to arrange for a younger, fitter man to father children with you. This is not betrayal. This is civic duty. The arrangement is made openly, often with all parties in agreement. A younger man may be honored to sire the children of a prominent household, knowing that he is serving the city's needs. Your husband does not lose face. In fact, he gains honor for ensuring that his line continues in the strongest form possible. The rules work both ways. If a man is in his prime but his wife is barren or frail, he may be encouraged, even expected, to father children with another woman, often one proven to have given birth to healthy offspring. These arrangements can be temporary, lasting only until a pregnancy is achieved, or they can be ongoing, weaving a web of bloodlines across the city. There is no moral scandal here. In Athens, Such an arrangement might be whispered about in shame. In Thebes, it might be considered outrageous. But in Sparta, this is simply law, the logical conclusion of a society that treats intimacy as a branch of statecraft. The Spartans do not measure the virtue of a union by the fidelity of the partners. They measure it by the strength of the children it produces. For women, this means that your worth is tied almost entirely to your womb's performance. Bearing multiple children, especially sons, is the surest way to secure your position. Even if they are not all fathered by your husband, they are counted as his heirs if the arrangement is sanctioned by law. The city encourages you to see motherhood as the highest service you can render. To refuse would be to defy not just your family, but Sparta itself. The result is a population shaped deliberately, generation after generation, to fit the state's vision. Bloodlines are strengthened, diversity of parentage is increased, and every child is raised in the same disciplined, militarized way. There are no private dynasties here, only the collective strength of the whole. But there is a shadow to this efficiency. Every embrace, every union, is subject to the judgment of others. Your private life is never truly yours. The decision to conceive, the choice of partner, even the right to keep your newborn, all are privileges granted, not rights possessed. You live with the knowledge that if you falter, if you produce a child who fails inspection, if you resist an arranged union meant to improve the city's stock, you can be cast aside. Your role is replaceable. Your absence will be filled by someone else willing to comply. It is a world in which the line between lover and stranger can blur under the state's orders. You might share a bed with the same man for years, or you might be sent to another for a single night because the elders decided it was time for you to try again. In either case, the reason will be the same. Sparta has a plan for your body, and it will be carried out. If this made your jaw drop, imagine what else you've never been told about the ancient world. Like this video, share it, and subscribe now, unless you're fine with forgetting this the moment you leave. And if that's you, I dare you to admit it in the comments. From the moment a Spartan boy enters the agoge, his life is shaped not just by the lash of discipline and the rhythm of military drills, but by relationships deliberately crafted to mold his loyalty, his character, and his sense of manhood. Among these relationships is one that outsiders have always struggled to understand: the bond between an older youth or adult warrior and a younger trainee. In the rest of Greece, such bonds, often called pederastic relationships, were known and even celebrated in certain city-states. But in Sparta, they took on a particular character, one bound tightly to the state's vision of what it meant to be a man. The elder was not merely a tutor in weapons and war. He was a model of discipline, courage, and control. Plutarch describes the older man as a lover in the philosophical sense, someone who is meant to inspire the boy's devotion and eagerness to excel. The younger, in turn, was called the beloved, not to imply romance in the way we might think today, but to frame the relationship as one of deep respect and fierce loyalty. Yet beneath the language of mentorship, there was an open debate, even in ancient times, about whether these bonds ever crossed into the physical. Some ancient authors insisted they were chaste, bound by honor and the pursuit of excellence. Others hinted that sexual contact could occur, but only under strict rules. In the Spartan code, the older man must never corrupt the boy or weaken him through indulgence. The law was clear on one point: effeminacy, any behavior that suggested softness, submission, or a willingness to take a passive role, was despised. In the Spartan worldview, the dominant partner in any act preserved his honor. The passive partner surrendered it entirely. For an adult man to take that passive role was to risk the most devastating insult in Spartan society: to be called malakos, soft. Such an accusation was more than an insult. It could destroy a man's standing among his peers, making him unfit to lead in battle or to hold certain offices. In a society that demanded constant displays of strength, the whisper of unmanliness could be a death sentence for your reputation. And in Sparta, reputation was survival. This strict hierarchy shaped how male intimacy could exist. A dominant-passive dynamic, if it occurred, was tolerated only when it aligned with the broader values of the agoge, hardening the younger man, reinforcing the older man's authority, and binding both more tightly to the state's cause. Anything that smacked of equality or sentimentality between men was suspect. It was seen as a distraction, even a corruption, of the warrior's purpose. The policing of sexuality did not end at the barracks door. It followed you into every public space, every communal meal, every inspection. Your posture, your speech, your mannerisms, all were read as signs of your inner nature. Too much softness in your tone or grace in your movement could become fuel for a rival to question your manhood. Too much time spent in private with another man could invite rumors. For the boys in the Agoge, the lesson was relentless. Desire must be controlled, never allowed to undermine strength. Affection could exist, but only within the lines drawn by the city. Those who strayed outside them risked not only personal shame, but the suggestion that they might fail in the one role Sparta cared about. Standing firm in the phalanx, shield locked to shield, unshaken by fear. This was the paradox of Spartan masculinity. You could share a bed with another warrior in the barracks, fight beside him, trust him with your life, but you could never afford to be seen as yielding to him. Your body could be disciplined into loyalty and unity, but your honor depended on maintaining an unbreakable image of dominance. In a city where even the act of love was a branch of military policy, these relationships became yet another weapon in Sparta's arsenal, a way to forge men who would rather die than see their honor questioned. In most of the ancient world, a wife's role is confined to the shadows of her husband's house. In Sparta, you stand in the sunlight, but it is not freedom. It is responsibility. From the day you are married, the state expects you to hold the keys to an estate, not as a symbol of independence, but as a guarantee that the gears of Spartan life will keep turning while your husband eats and sleeps in the barracks. He may be the warrior, but you are the manager of everything he leaves behind: land, harvest, helot laborers, the household treasury. If the crops fail, if the stores run low, if a helot uprising catches you unprepared, the blame will fall on you. And you are not expected to do this from a place of frailty. From girlhood, you have been trained to run, to wrestle, to throw the javelin. Your meals are rich in barley, cheese, figs, and roasted meat, far more than the meager rations given to the boys in the Agoge. This is not generosity. This is investment. A strong body is your primary asset, and the state wants its return: strong children. Plutarch writes that Spartan women were the only women who gave birth to men, a boast that carried weight across Greece. You wear it like armor, because it is what you are told from birth. Your body is the forge, your children are the weapons. And the city will test your worth again and again. Even your voice serves the state. At public festivals and gatherings, you are encouraged, even ordered, to taunt unmarried men. Stand tall, speak loud, shame them for failing in their duty to take a wife and father sons. In most Greek cities, such behavior would be scandalous. In Sparta, it is civic duty, part of the unbroken pressure to keep the citizen population from shrinking. To outsiders, it might seem like you have more freedom than women anywhere else in Greece. You can own property. You can inherit wealth. You can oversee estates and command servants. You can walk the streets without a male escort. But every inch of that power is tied to one thing: the health and number of your children. Your sexual autonomy, too, is framed as service, not self. The law may permit your husband to arrange for you to bear children by another man if it serves the state's needs. It may even allow you to initiate an arrangement if your husband is too old or often away. But it is never for love. It is for the lineage. For Sparta. And if you give birth to a child who is judged too weak to live, you have no say in what happens next. The city takes the infant, not you. The same elders who inspect every newborn will decide its fate, and their word is final. The grief you feel is yours alone. The rest of the community has already moved on to its next duty. You learn to bury that grief under the discipline that has been drilled into you since childhood. You learn to measure yourself not by moments of tenderness, but by the strength of the heirs you deliver to the Agoge. You raise your daughters to be as strong as you are, not so they can escape the system, but so they can survive it. In the quiet moments between duties, you might remember the man you married, the man you see only in hurried nighttime visits. You might wonder what it would be like to share a life without the city's shadow between you. But that is a thought you cannot indulge for long. Tomorrow, there will be fields to manage, food to store, helots to oversee, and sons to prepare for the day when they will be taken from you and trained to kill or die. This is your life. Not hidden, not powerless, but never truly free. You are the backbone of Sparta, the unseen force that keeps its warriors fed, its estates productive, and its bloodline strong. Without you, the phalanx would falter. But in this city, gratitude is measured only in survival, and survival is never guaranteed. In Sparta, there is no such thing as behind closed doors. The very design of the home reflects this. The walls are plain, the rooms spare, the layout open. Privacy is not a value here. Transparency is. Even within your own household, nothing is entirely hidden. Doors are light, often left ajar. Windows are uncovered. Space is shared, and so are the sounds that pass through it. This is not simply an architectural choice, it is policy. In a city where the loyalty of every citizen is a matter of survival, secrecy is dangerous. A hidden conversation, an undisclosed meeting, an intimacy that is not sanctioned by the state, all of these spark suspicion. Love letters are rare, not because Spartans lack passion, but because written secrets can be used as weapons. A letter discovered in the wrong hands could lead to questions you do not want to answer. The state has eyes everywhere. Elders, relatives, even your neighbors are expected to notice deviations from the norm and report them. If a man visits his wife too often before the law allows them to live together, it can be seen as a sign of weakness, that his loyalties are shifting from his messmates to his household. If a woman entertains guests behind closed doors, it can raise the question: what is being discussed, or done, away from the public gaze? Even the marriage bed is a secondary commitment. A Spartan man belongs first to his syssitia, the mess hall where he eats every meal with his comrades. These shared meals, more than his own home, are where loyalty is forged. 4 years after marriage, he will still sleep in the barracks, returning to his wife only in brief, state-approved intervals. It is an arrangement designed to keep him bound to the collective. The phalanx, the tight, unbreakable wall of shields in battle, depends on a soldier's unwavering trust in the men beside him. Too much attachment to a single person, too much comfort at home, could weaken that bond. The city will not allow it. The same principle governs your intimacy. The act itself is framed not as a private exchange of affection, but as a patriotic duty, a service rendered to Sparta by producing new citizens. This is why the law can intervene in who you share that act with, and when. The needs of the collective outweigh whatever feelings you may have. In such a world, deviation is dangerous. A man who lingers too long with his wife risks whispers that he has grown soft. A woman who seeks privacy risks being thought disloyal. These suspicions are not easily erased, and they can stain an entire family's reputation. So you learn to live with the knowledge that you are never entirely alone. Your home is not a refuge, it is simply another part of the stage on which Spartan life is performed, always for an audience, even if that audience is unseen. In this city, privacy is not a right. It is an act of rebellion. And rebellion, no matter how small, is treason. You've stayed for the unvarnished truth of Spartan women's lives. Like this, share it, and subscribe now, unless you plan to pretend you never heard it. If that's your choice, at least tell us why in the comments. In Sparta, your worth is measured by what you can give the city. When you can give no more, the measurement stops, and so does the value. For a man, the first signs of aging are not the lines on his face or the stiffness in his joints. They are the whispers. A younger warrior's jibe about his speed in training. A sideways look at the mess table when he takes longer to lift his cup. The city does not soften its view with respect for age. If you are childless by now, those whispers grow sharper. Without heirs, you are seen as having failed your most basic duty. In some cases, the law can strip you of certain privileges, rights to property, political voice, even a place in the communal meals. A man who leaves no legacy is a man who leaves no use. For a woman, the measure is even more unforgiving. Fertility is the currency of your authority. While you can bear children, you are a central figure, managing land, overseeing households, commanding respect. But when those years pass, your place becomes more precarious. The city will not openly discard you, but you feel the shift. Younger wives arrive to take your husband's attention, sanctioned by custom and law, because they can give what you no longer can. If you are widowed, you may remain in your home for a time, but your influence fades as swiftly as your fertility. Your sons, now grown, will take control of the estates. Your daughters will be married off to serve the same breeding program you once served. You watch them step into a life you know all too well. The same duties, the same limits, the same weight of expectation. This is the cyclical brutality of Sparta. You have spent your life serving the state's needs, shaping your body and your household around its demands. And in the end, you are replaced without ceremony. The system continues, indifferent to the individuals who fed it. There are no golden years here, no retirement filled with rest and indulgence. For men, the mess hall is still a duty, and the training grounds still demand presence, even if only as a figurehead. For women, the fields, the storerooms, and the constant oversight of helot laborers leave little time for idleness. But the truth is clear. You are no longer at the center of the city's plans. Old age strips away the illusions. The loyalty you gave, the sacrifices you made, they are not rewarded with comfort. They are absorbed into the collective memory of Sparta, if they are remembered at all. The young do not see you as a model. They see you as a warning of what happens when strength and usefulness run out. You try to hold on to the authority you once had, but authority here is never truly personal. It belongs to the role, and when the role is taken from you, the authority goes with it. The respect you receive now is ceremonial, a nod to service already rendered, but not a recognition of ongoing worth. And so the cycle continues. New warriors are trained, new wives are paired, new children are inspected. The same laws that once ruled your body now rule theirs. You watch the next generation step into the machine, and you know exactly how it will end for them. In Sparta, the end is not marked by a single moment. It comes slowly, as the city turns its gaze from you to those still able to serve. You fade not because you are gone, but because you have become invisible. You step out of the long shadow of the Spartan system and into the light of the world you know today, and it is almost blinding. Here, in this age, marriage is built on choice. Love can be the reason you take someone's hand. Consent is a given, not a negotiation with the state. Privacy is a right, guarded by law, not a privilege granted when it serves the collective. And yet, when you carry the weight of what you've just seen, you realize how new these freedoms truly are. In Sparta, love was not an ideal. It was a distraction. Consent was irrelevant if the law had already decided your duty. Privacy was dangerous, even subversive. Your body was never truly yours. It was a resource to be managed, inspected, and, when necessary, reassigned. The warmth of personal connection was never allowed to weaken the cold calculus of survival. It is tempting to believe that such a system could only exist in the distant past. But history has a way of reminding us that the rules we live by are far from permanent. Laws change, priorities shift, and the needs of the collective, real or imagined, can still override the rights of the individual. Sparta is not just an artifact, it is a warning. Think of the moments in your life that are most private. The words spoken to a partner in the dark, the quiet relief of being alone, the ability to decide if and when to bring new life into the world. In Sparta, every one of those moments would be public business. They would belong to the city. They would be weighed, judged, and, if they didn't align with the state's needs, discarded. You wouldn't survive it. Not because you are weak, but because you have been shaped by freedoms so ordinary now that you forget how rare they are in the sweep of human history. You expect love to be a reason, not a luxury. You expect your body to answer to you, not to the cold demands of a council's decree. And that is the privilege of your time. The thin, fragile line between the world you know and the world you've just walked through in this story is far easier to cross than most would like to believe. If this journey into Sparta has unsettled you, if it has made you rethink what you take for granted, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video. Share it. Leave a comment about the part that struck you the hardest. And most of all, subscribe to the History Scar, because the past is full of truths that are too strange, too harsh, and too revealing to ignore.